Hello, everyone. I just want to tell that because I don't know if my English words are correct. So, a first joke. It means a lot for me to be here today because it's a 20th edition of the TADx, Belgium, and I have the same age, but twice. Anyway, thank you very much for coming. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for their invitation. This is my first conference in English. I would also like to really thank the sponsors who have made this event possible, and a big thank you to the volunteers who do such a great job. Today, I would like to introduce you to my book. This is a Choose Your Own Adventure book called Bring Agility Back to Developers. Are you familiar with this kind of book? Have you ever read one? Oh, okay. I loved reading them when I was a child because I loved the sadistic way in which you had to choose which adventure your hero should go on. And I usually choose the worst, just for love. The advantage of these books is that you can change your mind. Are there any sadists in the room? No? Okay. Yes, thank you. Help me, please. Some of the sketches I'm going to present to you today were written in 2019. At the time, I was surprised by certain situations in companies, and I realized that I wasn't the only one to encounter them. My hope in sharing them is to bring about positive change in the teams I work with. And since, strangely enough, they are still relevant. These situations have in common that companies demand a huge amount of autonomy and self-organization on the part of the teams. But sometimes they didn't know what is agility, and sometimes they didn't know how to work in team. So this presentation is a cry of alarm, a warning. I am presenting only 6 sketches today, but I would like to hear your feedback on the strange situations you have encountered yourself. Let me introduce you to the characters in this adventure. Lily. Lily is a young React developer with 2 years experience, and she is our hero. And then we are ourselves, the readers. We will be wearing different hats depending on the sketches. Okay? Let's get into the story. Lily has just started a new job at So Great, an IT consulting firm, a little less cool than Upseed. She's highly motivated and had a successful interview, and is looking forward to putting her 2 years' experience to good use in a team that is already in place. This team works for a company specializing in the sale of very sweet masks, and her objective is to produce a website for this client. So it's her first day, and she's really looking forward to proving herself. She goes to her manager and asks, "Where do I start?" Is there any managers in the room? Few people. Okay. What do we do? You have 2 choices. Either we choose to start Lily immediately, time is money, or you take the time to introduce her to your team, your environment. Who is for the first choice? Okay, thank you. And the second? Okay, where are the sadists in the room? Let me put the question in another way. In the last 5 years, when you have changed jobs, companies, or missions, can you remember a time when you didn't feel welcomed, and do you remember why? Anyway, I have the remote control. So we are going to put Lily through a terrible adventure. Start developing immediately. So here we go. Lily goes to work. When Lily arrives, she's already got her workstation set up, her username and her password are working, and she has access to the documentation, which exists and is pretty well done. Is it such a sadistic choice? I'm not sure. So she takes an interest in the documentation, she installs her tools, her technical stack, and then, after a while, she has questions. Except, remember, we didn't take the time to do the introductions properly. Worse still, her team wasn't on site the day she arrived. So what Lily does, naturally, is something that works quite well. She goes into the next office and asks a question to the people there, but who are not the best people to ask. The proof is that the interviewees refer her to the documentation. It doesn't matter. Lily's first day, she is still smiling and motivated. She just wants to show that she can find the information by her own. So she goes to look for someone else in the same building. The new person she found was surprised that Lily didn't know the basic processes of the company. Don't worry, Lily, if you want to understand the processes, look in the documentation. Lily is feeling idle, like she is going around in circles, wasting her time. The messages in the blue boxes are words I heard during my missions at the end of the first day, the first week, or the first month. I am useless, I can't do it, help me. Motivation then drops dramatically. This kind of situation doesn't happen just to juniors. Even someone who has accumulated experience and is independent can be affected by this kind of situation. But fortunately, you are not that kind of manager. We will go back over the previous pages of our story and make the introductions properly. For example, he might start by asking the team to be present that day, to welcome Lily. And why not have lunch with her for her first day? It's important. At the very least, we all log in and arrange to meet up and make introductions. Lily, you will be working with Jack, the tester, Dave, the product owner, and Chris, the backend tech lead. And there is more. We have to think about a team that is integrated, a new person. They may also have fears, doubts, and questions. It's important that Lily introduces herself. And then we reassure each other by talking about the project, the processes, the skills, the tools, I don't know. We talk about who does what. We start to talk about the scope of the work we will do together. And if everyone agrees, but it's not a requirement, we can also talk about less professional, more personal matters. We talk about teamwork and collaboration. It sounds very simple, but if you miss the first day, you have to restart from scratch. Taking the time to integrate a new person into a team is the first step in building the team's identity. It doesn't happen in a day, but the first day is very important. We also work on the self-confidence of each of the people making the new team, because when someone joins a team, then you have to build a new team. We're also working on the sense of belonging of the entire team. So well done. As a manager, you have just given your Agile team its first key. Agile or not, this applies to any type of team that shares a common goal. Now that we have agreed on where to find the documentation, what tools we are going to use, what roles each person is going to play, and what the objectives of the team and the product are, we all set off together on the first iteration. And during this iteration, the team already encounters a small blockage with a tool. It's not a versioning tool, nor an IDE. No, it's a tool for managing tasks and features to be implemented. So I'm not going to advertise it. We are going to call it Giraffe. The team suffers from this and takes advantage of the retrospective to share this problem with each other. The tool doesn't allow them to monitor their progress effectively. Since it will be too dangerous to be the administrator of their tracking, they decided to look for a solution and came across another possible tool that the whole team found intuitive. Once again, no advertising. We are going to call it Grello. To validate this choice, they turn to us, new hats. Are there any PMOs in the room or cross-functional project manager? I don't know. It depends on your company. Yes? Okay. Your answer is continue to use Giraffe. Licenses are expensive and need to be amortized. Or, okay, use Grello as long as I still get my cross-functional indicators. Who is for the first? Yes. Thank you. I'm not alone. And for the second? You're great people. In reality, Lily's team had to continue using Giraffe. Using the same tracking template for all the company's teams, it was impossible for them to find a place to store valuable information. No problem. We will just put the information in another box. No, absolutely not. There is an automatic calculation in that box. You will break everything. So we will write it by hand somewhere. We will still need a new field. And we will need an additional level of substacks, for example. Yes, but we don't have rights for that. Developers have the impression of spending an amount of time of doing administrative work. The product owner, for his part, oscillates between the team feeling frustrated and the PMO complaining about the team isn't moving fast enough. The whole team feels like it's wasting time. Some feel that they are not going to make it. And worst of all, the question that reflects the situation: when do we start developing? But fortunately, we are not that kind of PMO. We are going to allow Lily and her team to do what they are paid to do: develop and test, to put their expertise to good use. And to do that, we are going free from Giraffe and allow them to test their Grello tool. Let's go. The team got down to work. As administrators of their new monitoring system, they developed it. They make sure that they get what they need to provide cross-functional indicators for us, PMO. And right from the first iteration, the team realized that there was a step missing in the tests. It was no longer just a question of testing functionality, but also accessibility. And what's more, Lily does have expertise in this area, so she will be able to help Jack, the tester. We are administrators, after all. Let's add it: continuous improvement. Letting the team choose their process, their tools, and the way they work helps to motivate them. Lily's team felt legitimate to suggest a tool. They will also gain in confidence, because the day they have to choose another tool, another architecture, another technical stack, they will have this episode in mind and will not hesitate to be a force of proposal. In this case, it ended well, but the moral of the story could have been a failure. But we would have learned and reacted. The advantage of agility is that you disapprove quickly. You don't wait 6 months to hit the wall. So well done. You have given your Agile team another key. Then one iteration follows another, and after a while, you realize that there are bottlenecks in the step to be tested. By adding accessibility tests, we have drowned the tester, even though Lily helps out. The team is new to agility and doesn't always have the right reflexes. Fortunately, they can take advantage of the presence of an Agile coach in the company. Just one for all the company. Is there any Agile coach in the room? I'm not alone. Okay, thank you. So what do we do? 2 choices. As Agile experts, we suggest a work-in-progress limit. After all, we have accumulated enough experience to know that this can improve processes. And what's more, we have just tested it in the team next door. Or are we going to suggest to Lily's team that they take some time to find their own suitable solution? Who is for the first? Yeah, and the second? Interesting. In real life, I will remind you that there is only one Agile coach for the whole company. So he is divided between several teams. And you ask him the question by the coffee machine. So, as busy Agile coach, we will quickly tell Lily's team to test the work-in-progress limit at 2. Okay. Said too quickly, Lily's team didn't understand it. The work-in-progress limit, which was supposed to concern the stages, was seen as a limit per person. So the team went back to its backlog and cleaned up when people had more than 2 tasks assigned to them. Logically, what happens when you have to reduce your activity? We refocus on our primary area of expertise. That is what it says in your contract. Lily, who has helping out her tester, will be refocusing on her development activities. Bye-bye. Also, Chris. Time goes by, some features are completed, but in the end, the initial problem hasn't been solved at all. The bottleneck is still there. Worse still, it's getting bigger and bigger. And here again, it's a human reflex. When there is a stage that's blocked, and there is only one person in charge of that stage, the person becomes the problem. It's a catastrophic situation for the team. We have gone from a team that helped each other to a team that distrusts each other. The team have listened to an Agile coach. So if the problem persists, it's inevitably the team that sucks. Not great for confidence. But fortunately, you are not this kind of Agile coach, and I'm not this kind of Agile coach. We are going to take the time to help Lily's team improve constructively. And maybe we will ask the company to set up an Agile coach community, which is a very practical way to support an entire company. So we are going to work with the team during a retrospective, for example. And we present ourselves as a knowledge base, capable not only of presenting different tools, but also of getting the team to question themselves in order to guide their choice of solution. We will talk about work-in-progress limit, in each process step, not per person, please. We will talk about definition of ready, definition of done, quality, tests. In this case, by taking the time to talk, Lily's team realized that it wasn't the tests that were the problem. It was that until the test stage, we never talked about tests. We didn't prepare them upstream. We didn't focus development in relation to the tests. We didn't use the TDD. We let Jack, the tester, take the initial functional request, build these passing and non-passing tests, and launch the application as luck would have it. One of the solutions of Lily's team at this point in this situation was to add passing and non-passing tests to the list of prereqs, co-constructed by the entire team and the customer. It's an example. In this way, Lily's team saw the value of retrospectives for the team's continuous improvement and felt justified in testing different solutions before finding the most appropriate one. Now the team knew that by taking the time to study the various possible solutions, they would eventually have found their own solution. And it's important. Congratulations, you have given your Agile team another key. Lily's team is now making good progress. Time goes by, we have reached the end of an iteration, and Lily is super happy because she's almost finished everything she committed to. She says so at the daily Scrum meeting, except that at the same time, Jack and Chris share their dismay. While they are both working on the biggest feature in the backlog, the one the customer is most looking forward to, they can't manage to finalize both the development and the tests, which themselves need to be corrected. Are there any developers in the room? Oh, yeah, strangely enough. We choose to concentrate on our task in Lily's place, which is less expected by the customer, but this will enable us to achieve our individual KPI of 100%. Or, or do we choose to help the pair as far as we can? Who is for the first solution? And the second? Okay. I will take a picture. I don't know about you, but at one of my daily Scrum meetings, I heard, I can't help. It's not written in my contract. The person wasn't right, but he wasn't wrong either. Today, in most of the companies, individual recognition still prevails. Very few team objectives are set. And during career interviews, there's an HR officer, there is a manager, but there is no one from the team. So Lily chooses to finish her own tasks before helping others. At the last daily Scrum meeting, they decide to prepare the iteration review, the sprint review. Lily's feature demonstrations goes well. She is ecstatic. And she expects a big thank you from the rest of the team. Except that the others aren't happy at all. With 1 hour to go before the review, they haven't managed to finish the main feature. And the product owner knows that the customer won't be happy. What is the mood of the team at that moment? Everyone is frustrated. This difference in interpretation of the situation is very problematic for the rest of the team's life. But we are not that kind of developer. we are going to get into the not so easy mode of collaboration. It's a great thing. What is the point of a daily Scrum meeting? It's not about saying what you did the day before and what you are going to work on now. My point of view is that the daily Scrum meeting is a way of talking about sticking points and enablers for progress. The sticking points can be, I depend on the end of another feature to do mine, so I am available and I can help. Or I am missing information from an outside party, or because I don't know enough about it, and I need support. The other end, an enabler could be, I have finished my feature. Maybe I am removing obstacles for someone else who depended on me. So I am available and I can help. Or it could also be that I have the answer to a question, and I'm going to make myself available to help this team. In short, it means talking about what helps the team to move forward in the right direction and under the best conditions. So you see, the principle of mutual aid, mutual support is crucial. So when Lily learns that her colleagues are struggling, she won't necessarily have the skills to replace them, but she will try to help. The principle of solidarity is a simple one, but it's something you build when you're going through a rough patch, when the members of a team are aware that they share a common goal, they develop a strong team spirit, and are able to face up the unexpected. It starts with being available and listening to your team. And some companies today are also becoming aware of the importance of teamwork and setting group objectives. So well done. You have given your Agile team another key. Thanks to the team spirit, the review will satisfy the customer. It's true that Lily's little feature isn't ready, but the main feature is here. So the product owner is making sure that the customer will be available for this afternoon's review. We are the customer. What do we say? I don't have much time. I'm working on several projects at the same time. I trust you. We will make a compilation of what needs to be validated later, okay? Or, okay, I will make myself available and frequently. Who is for the first solution? Oh, you know the waterfall. Okay, and who is for the second solution? Okay, thank you. Lily's team continues their development tasks, assuming that they will be validated. So they systematically use a version of code from the previous iteration. After several iterations without a review, they have accumulated 18 functionalities to be validated instead of the initial 3. So we are planning a 3-hour review instead of 30 minutes. And the team is proud to present this. I'm the only one not using Midjourney for my draw, sorry. We are customers. What do we think? We are not happy at all. Why? Firstly, because the border changed between the time we requested and the review. And then the ugly blue menu. I wanted it on the right instead of the sub-menus. Wasn't that clear when we talked about it 2 months ago? And these colors, okay. That's what I asked for, but you can see that it doesn't look good at all. In short, The team finds itself no longer with 18 features ready to be delivered, but with a backlog of 28 features to be developed, corrected, or discarded. How does a team feel after such a review? Here, the team clearly felt a false sense of agility. But fortunately, we are not that kind of customers. We are already being supported in the transition to product agility. It's important. It's vital to understand why we are important in this way of working. Of course, the development team is central, but it's our customer satisfaction that is the main indicator. So we are going to make ourselves available from the first iteration review. We will be involved in the demonstration and in the summary of the lives of the team and the iteration, to understand, for example, why a feature couldn't be developed to completion. We learn at the same time as the team. At the second iteration, the team took our command on board, and we were listened to. We didn't want the menu at the top. Okay, it was moved, and it was indeed a priority. We like to be listened to when we are customers. The same goes for iteration 2, 3, and so on. A little anecdote. On one of my Agile projects for which I had the role of Scrum Master, my customer came to be physically closer to the team. In the morning, he will sit in our development office, and he saw the advantage of being accessible and answering questions, validating things. So this time, it is the principle of continuous improvement of the product that we are emphasizing. It's very important to keep telling ourselves that we still share a common vision and that we are on the right track frequently. Sometimes, and I hope this is the case for you, the customer joins the team in this collective approach and helps the team to feel committed. Unlike earlier, the team knows what it's working for, sees its impact, and understands its crucial role. Well done. You have given your Agile team another key. Last little sketch. The code review finally went well. We validated the 3 main functionalities with the customer, and the product owner decided to put the code into production environments. So the team produced the package for delivery. But Lily's team didn't have control over the production environments. So they are going to turn to the cross-functional ops team. Are there any ops people in the room? Oh, thank you to be here. Shall we add the package to the next cross-company delivery shot in the IT department? Or are we going to support the team in the ongoing deployment of its deliveries? Not such a simple question. Who is for the first one? Yeah, in 6 months, yes. And who is for the second? Okay, thank you. My job is to support teams faced with technical and organizational problems, and it's not often when everything's going well that I'm called in. So I am more used to dealing with these situations like the first answer suggests. Sorry, we will deliver in 6 months, 8 months. As an ops person, I'm going to be nice and say, okay, we will deliver in 2 weeks. Not so bad. So the iteration starts today, and Lily's team is happy. They will base themselves on the validated source code, which will go into production in 2 weeks' time. The first week of the iteration has passed, and the tasks are gradually completed in the development environment. The following week, the Thursday of cross-functional delivery arrives. As an ops member, we cannot deliver during the day. This is called disrupt production. We cannot deliver between midday and 2 o'clock either. The delivery is likely to last more than 2 hours. We will therefore be on call in the evening at 8 p.m., the acceptable time for the application to be switched off. The first of the six packages making up the delivery is Lily's team. And what happens? We are just trying to deploy the package in the production environment, and boom! We look at the error logs, and it's clear that we won't be able to solve the problems. They are both technical and functional errors. In these cases, in order not to block the delivery of the other packages, we naturally decide to put this package aside and move on to the next one. And that's normal. The aim of an ops member is to ensure that the production environment is always stable. The next morning, we are asleep, so we left a report note for Lily's team. They look at the logs. Wow. They look at the logs and see that they contained errors in the infrastructure and the network too, and that they are not independent enough to resolve these problems. In short, the errors to be resolved require both ops expertise and dev expertise. What Lily's team has just experienced is the wall of confusion. It's through repeated actions like this that it gets built higher and higher. And this is still the case in many IT departments. But fortunately, we are not that kind of ops member. We are going to agree to take some time, or even integrate Lily's team, to teach them how to be independent and make deployments run more smoothly and safely. I know it's very ambitious, but it works, I promise. In reality, ops members and developers have the same objective: a wonderful production environment. Ops members aim for stability, while developers aim for lifelong use of new features. But in the end, we can get along. I was lucky enough to come across this case. An ops person came to support the team for a few weeks and co-constructed a smoother deployment solution. In this case, we are talking about several concepts. Continuous integration platform, for example. It's not always a concept that the development teams have grasped. You have to take the time to explain it to them and get them on board. And generally, afterwards, as developers, we get really excited about it. We talk about continuous improvement, integration tests. We make people aware that it may work on the dev computers, but when you integrate it across the board, things can go wrong with other applications, other services, other businesses. Guaranteeing code quality, TDD, systematic testing, definition of done, to embellish it with notions of security or network. In short, we are going to build a full vision of the impact of our development. This is a principle of the cross-functional team. As soon as we need an external skill to move forward, we try to appropriate it to become self-reliant. Agility and DevOps go hand in hand. Here again, it supports the principle of helping each other, and finally, it gives responsibility to the developers who push code in production. For those of you who have been involved in maintenance team, there is nothing worse. It consists of correcting bugs in production code that we discover because other teams have developed it and never know the impact of their way of doing things. So they never change it. In this configuration, Lily's team is logically responsible for the bugs they deliver in production environments. They learn, they progress, and they don't repeat the same mistakes. So well done, you have given your Agile team a final key. To sum up, we told ourselves that we need to do this. Take the time to welcome and make the members feel a part of the Agile team, for the new person arriving and for those in the team already present. Take the time to test new ways of doing things, tools, and processes. Take the time to sit back and think about how best to create, implement, test. Take the time to listen to the team, their calls for help and their needs. Take the time to give constructive feedback and what has been achieved. Take the time to optimize the value chain from the initial idea to post-production. So the ideal thing is maybe to take the time. The moral of the story is that we all have a role to play in a team's transition to Agile. I have suggested some roles that aren't necessarily Agile, but which are an integral part of an Agile team's environment. There could have been many more, and I would be delighted to hear about your own experiences. My name is Fanny KLAUK. I'm a TechRel, Agile Coach and trainer at Absid. I work in France, at Tours, the second most beautiful city in the world after Antwerpen. And I also work with Absid Brussels, so I am available for any question. With Stéphane Philippard, we have created TADx and we organize monthly meetups. TADx means Tour, Agile, and DevOps Experience. You are welcome. And I am Lily. Thanks for coming and take the time.